Today we're in the greenhouse. I was kind of excited to do this because I've been waiting for a long time to trim my tomatoes, and they're just kind of getting out of hand, and I was kind of keeping the tomatoes growing this way so I could do this video. And it's about pruning tomatoes, and you got to prune your tomatoes. The reason why you want to prune your tomatoes because it's, for one thing, you're going to get bigger fruit. It's going to be easier to take care of. It's going to be easier to find. I think it's a great way to grow tomatoes. For one thing, it helps the plant put all the energies into the fruit. It gives you bigger fruit, and it helps the plant to grow faster. And it's so much easier when come harvesting time. So if you see around me and behind me, all of my wires are hanging down. This is basically what I use to tie in my greenhouse because I have rafters. I can just hang these, this is just Wi-Fi wire and just regular leftover electrical wire that I'm using. I'll show you what I do with it. And I usually tie my tomatoes with this. I was going to show you two other methods that I've used before in the past that works very well too, for like doing them outside in the rows if you don't have rafters. But if you're using these things, I've seen these like all over the mainland. What you do with these is just throw these away. Just throw those away. Get those out. Those things are like no good. Because what those wire things do is just bunch all the tomatoes together, and it keeps the light from getting inside. So it's the same with my tomato concept is the same thing with how I do my trees. It's like you need the sunlight to get into the trees and into the leaves and the flower and the fruit. The sunlight is what gives and makes the power for the leaves and the plants. I'm gonna now run through the theory of the tomato pruning. So basically what you want to do is you want to have like 5 vines on each tomato plant, and what dictates the vine is the flower. The flower will dictate the vine. So this is a diagram of what the tree looked like and the 5 branches that I keep. So this is the main branch coming through. So this is 1. So the first flower that appears right here off the branch, of the main number 1 branch, is the one you're gonna keep. So there's a flower and a branch right under the flower. This is the one you're gonna keep. So this branch here is number 2. This is 1, this is 2, this is your flower, and you're gonna look when this guy grows out, you're gonna keep the next flower. You're gonna keep the next branch under the next flower, and everything else above this will be cut off. And then you're gonna do that for the next flower. As the plant grows, you're gonna keep the next flower, right? You're gonna keep the next flower, and you're gonna keep the next branch that comes out. And you're gonna just repeat the process. So you only get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You only get 5 branches, and everything else comes off. And I've seen the Hungarians, when they do their tomatoes, all of these come off too. All of the leaves come off. And they prune it like this. So why are you doing this? All the energy is going up into this, and it makes it grow faster, and you get bigger fruit. So that's the general theory behind the tomato pruning. And I'm gonna try to attempt to show you several different plants before and after. Okay, so this is plant number 1, and by looking at it, some people will go like, oh yeah, look at all my tomatoes growing all on the side. But this is a tomato plant that is out of control. So basically what you're gonna do is come here, and you're gonna look for the flower. This is the first flower right here. All these other ones come off. So you just take, I'm just using a regular pocket knife. And so you gotta clean all this up now, is by taking all of these branches off. You can even take all of these off too. So you clean all this off and keep all of this. This can all go into the compost. And so here you see the flower and the first branch right here. That's the one you're gonna keep. And then this is the second flower and the second branch. That's the one you're gonna keep. And everything else can come off. And so I just use like basic twine, some garden twine. What I normally like to do is I usually like to tie like underneath. You can tie them anyway, it doesn't matter. And then I put knots up here, yeah. So it's easy to attach to. And then just do a quick half hitch. Doesn't have to be fancy. Just like that. So just like that, doesn't need to be fancy. And as the main tomato vine grows, I'll actually tie them to the wire itself sometimes. And it'll just grow up to the top. And it will and it can grow to the top of the ceiling. And this is number 2. This is what number 2 looks like. It's all just a giant bush. Again, we gotta take all that down. You can see that this thing is just a giant shrub. It's all out of control. Again, so we're gonna look for the flower. This is the first flower right here. How do we know it's a flower? Because we see the fruit coming from it. So we're gonna keep the next branch coming out, and everything else below that comes out, comes off. So it's gonna be from here, here. Take all this off, all the way down to the ground. Even all of these, even though if they have, sometimes they have fruit on them and flowers on them, take them off. You don't need those. It's only taking energy from the plant. Just easy like that, just simple as that. And now your tomato vine will look like this. Beautiful and healthy. I want to show you this plant because these are all heirloom tomatoes, and heirloom tomatoes do not follow the normal plan. So like you got a flower here and a branch here, you got a flower here and no branch here, and heirlooms will do that all the time. So you don't need to worry, you can just make the branches come off of this one. So you're going to take the next flower and the next flower. As long as you get 5 branches, it's okay. Just keep trimming them. So then again, I'll tie at the bottom here. Just making a couple square knots, and then right here. Then tie it off. That's it. And that's what it looks like. It looks so much better now. So now all the energy is going to go to those tomatoes. And then, okay, this is plant number 3. This thing is quite the disaster as well. So we're going to look for the flower. Remember, this is the main branch, is the one in my hand. We're going to look for the flower. There's another flower coming up here. And as we can see, like that previous heirloom tomato, it doesn't have another vine coming out of here. But that's okay. We're going to clean it up anyway. So we're going to take everything off from the bottom of the vine, or the bottom of the first flower. We take all these other branches off, just like this. And then we tie them up. So I'm just making a square knot and then another square knot. And if you're gonna do this system, What you want to do is leave space. Don't tie them totally around the base of the tree. Don't suffocate the neck of the tomato, because it's just going to get harder to grow. So what I do is I make it a little bit of space, give them a little bit of room here, because he's going to grow into it, and then I tie him up. Just like that. This is going to be the last example. This one is a bit of a mess as well. And then we're going to just go in and clean them up the same way. And as we get into here, we look again for the first flower. This is the first flower. You may look all excited because, oh yeah, my tomatoes get plenty flowers and plenty bushes and stuff. But take them all off. It's just taking energy away from the plant. Just cut them back, cut them down, trim them. And the plant feels so much happier already. So this one again, this one is a great example. This one has a flower, it has another branch coming out, it has another flower, and this is the branch, the next branch you're gonna keep over here, this little guy over here, and this one as well. This is the number 1 branch. So you have 1 flower coming out, you're gonna keep this branch. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 so far on this plant. This is a great example, but not every tomato has this if you're doing heirlooms, and I only do heirlooms. And then we're gonna tie him up. So again, when you tie him, give him some space around his neck. And then give him a tie up. And you know, this process doesn't take very long if you keep up on it. You just gotta do some every day, depending on how many plants you got. And then you can always stay ahead. But the thing with the tomatoes is, a lot of times when you cut the vines off, they tend to come back. They want to grow back, and then you got to go back and cut them all off again. And I enjoy doing this kind of stuff. I like pruning. I like working in the garden. I like being outside. I always did. I did this when I was like going in high school. We had so much tomato plants. I was the only guy that did do all the tomatoes. And it gives you a chance to come outside and talk to them. If you don't talk to them, they're not going to be sweet. They're going to be all sour. So you got to talk to the plants. This is basically how I do my tomatoes in the greenhouse. I keep them cage free because cage free tastes better. So now I'm gonna show you a couple examples outside. Again, if you didn't have the rafters. This is gonna be example number 1. So I just basically put sticks in the ground. You can use whatever you want. Sticks, you can use rebar, you can use like some kind of other posting, you can use pipe if you like. So it's just basically in a row and the sticks are up. I have tied some twine to it, the same kind of twine that I'm tying my tomatoes with. I anchored it on one end, and just for the purpose of this demonstration, I only did one side. I didn't do the other side, but you have an anchor on each side holding the string up to give it tension between each stick, because when the tomatoes grow, it's gonna like put weight on it. And when it comes to pruning, it's the same rules apply. This is an heirloom and you might not have the same configuration on each one, but that's okay. Prune them off anyway. So we take all the bottom ones off. And here's the flower. We're just going to keep this one here. Here's the next flower. A good thing about using posts, you can just tie the tomatoes to the post. And what I like to do is I take the cord this way, I spin it around twice, then cut it, then tie it to the post, just like so. And what this does, this gives the clearance for the tomato to grow. This here is another example. Again, needs some trimming on this guy. So we take everything from the first flower down, we cut it all out. And we can either tie it to the stick this way, or as the tree gets bigger, we're gonna tie it and then bring it right up here. You're gonna bring it right up here, like this. This is gonna be the last example, and I don't normally do this inside of the greenhouse. This is just for demonstration purposes only. So what I've seen like my Hungarian friends do, they put 4 sticks together, almost like a teepee style like this. And then it has a plant at the base of each one. And as the plant grows up, they just keep tying the plant through the sticks, and then they grow upwards. And again, they grow upwards, and that's where all the support is, and that's what's carrying all the weight, is this at the top. And it works pretty well. I hope that was informative. I hope you give it a try. It's pretty simple. Remember the flower, and then the next shoot coming out, that's the one that you want to keep, and you want to keep only 5. And everything else take off. You can take the rest of the shoots off and take all the leaves off, and the plant will survive better that way. It will grow faster and give bigger tomatoes. That's what we like. We all like them big. Anyway, thanks for watching. Woo!